start this video. My name is Randy Suarez, aka Silver Crow, and as some of y'all may know, I am a big fan of wrestling. So, um, yeah, a few days ago, around Thursday, we got word that Will Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt, has tragically passed away. It's due to some complication after he got over COVID and having a heart attack. So this is this one is gonna hurt due to the fact no one this will never be someone like Bray Wyatt. And hearing and listening and reading people's like interactions with Bray, it's legit magical because he was legit just a good person. Passing away at the age of 36. That's young. He is legit 6 years older than me, and hearing that he passed, I topped this off with when I was little, hearing when Eddie Guerrero passed away. Even most recently, almost a year now, when Jason David Frank, aka Tommy Oliver, aka Green Ranger, White Ranger, whatever, passed away. Same thing with Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther, passing away. This hurts a lot. But someone made a top, basically 10 moments of Bray Wyatt, and I will do like a tribute video at the end of instead of my normal ending song. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, this is one of those videos that is gonna be pretty hard for me to get through. So if you could bear with me, please do. Without further ado, let's get started.
As the world mourns the tragic passing of WWE star Bray Wyatt at the age of just 36, it is important to remember and look back fondly on his many amazing contributions to the wrestling business. A fiercely creative and utterly fearless performer, Wyndham Rotunda has left a legacy that is littered with incredible and unforgettable moments. Whilst we are saddened to know that we will never get to witness another, we are glad that he left behind so many for us to enjoy again and again. Please join us in celebrating the life and career of the incomparable Bray Wyatt. We'll miss you, Bray.
Shout out to Culturaholic Wrestling for creating this. I'm happy they did. Let's get through this.
Number 10, Bray Wyatt returns. Let's start with Bray's 2022 return, which was the culmination of much hype, speculation, and an inventive interactive campaign. With Triple H taking over the creative reins from Vince McMahon, we immediately started to see some of the game's old favourites return to the fold, whether they were rehired or simply given renewed pushes. Encouraged to follow the mystery of the White Rabbit, viewers eagerly tuned in to the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, where it was hinted that Wyatt would re-emerge. With the show ostensibly going off the air, the lights went out and the weirdness began in earnest. With a recording of Bray singing "He's Got the Whole World in His Hands" playing over the arena's sound system, one by one, lifelike versions of the unsettling characters from the Firefly Funhouse were spotted at various places in the crowd. Then, after a little more hoopla, Wyatt appeared from the remnants of the Firefly Funhouse set, taking off a brand new mask and blowing out a lantern as the fans went bonkers. Only a character like Bray Wyatt could get away with this sort of extravagant production, but it fit him to a T and got...
He had a way to basically draw the crowd in, and the crowd be mesmerized. His promos, how he basically worked the crowd in general. He was a very very talented entertainer, and even more so a talented wrestler.
His sadly all too short final runoff to a memorable start. Number 9, beating Cena at Extreme Rules. Bray's first major test as a singles wrestler on the main roster was John Cena. Though Wyatt, as well as Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, had built up considerable momentum in their relatively short time on main, a program with the face that runs the place was an altogether different beast. Some were critical of Super Cena's WrestleMania 30 victory over the Backwoods Dweller, but defeat at the Showcase of the Immortals wasn't the end of the line for the Eater of Worlds, because he got another crack at Big Match John at Extreme Rules. Locked inside a steel cage, Wyatt and Cena were having themselves a hell of a fight, with Cena continually fending off interference of the rest of the Wyatt family members. It wasn't Harper or Rowan that he needed to worry about, however. A small child, who would be ordinarily kitted out in one of Cena's Neon Nightmare t-shirts, showed up and prevented him from exiting the cage door by freaking him out with a demonic rendition of "He's got the whole world in his hands." The distraction was
That was legit creepy though, but that was a well-played part, to do that for Bray.
enough to allow Bray to hit Sister Abigail and secure a key victory. Number 8, the Firefly Funhouse match. 6 years after they first clashed, Bray and Cena reignited their rivalry on the road to WrestleMania 36. By this point, Wyatt had transformed into the Fiend, and John was no longer WWE's Marathon Man, but on a part-time schedule and used only for special events. When COVID hit, WWE were forced to innovate and came up with a Firefly Funhouse match for Cena vs Wyatt on the oddest, grandest stage of them all. More in keeping with performance art than traditional professional wrestling, the Funhouse was unlike anything WWE had done before. A time-hopping head trip with nary a wrestling move in sight, the match saw Bray taunt Cena, who morphed into prior versions of himself. They even did an homage to their previous feud and imagined John Cena becoming a member of the New World Order. It was wild and wacky, and while it wasn't for everyone, it was certainly different and lingered long in the memory. There were a lot of so-called cinematic matches during the pandemic era, but Cena and Bray's mind-bending jaunt through the Performance Center takes some topping. Number 7, winning the tag titles with Orton. Though Bray debuted on WWE's main roster in the summer of 2013, it took him over 3 years to win his first piece of WWE Gold. And it wouldn't be with Rowan or Harper either, but temporary honorary Wyatt family member Randy Orton. The new face of Fear and the Viper joined forces in late 2016 and took on inaugural SmackDown Tag Team Champions Heath Slater and Rhino at TLC. Kicking off the show, the match itself was really nothing to write home about, lasting a shade under 6 minutes as it did. But as a moment, it was a big one, and an important one for the career of Wyatt, who provided the distraction that allowed Orton to nail an RKO and bag the belts. The Orton-Bray saga would go completely off the rails in the months that followed, but it was compelling stuff initially, with this being one of the highlights. Number 6, Firefly Inferno. The pandemic was still in full swing when Bray's alter ego clashed with Randy Orton at TLC 2020 in what was basically an Inferno match, i.e. the first person to set their opponent on fire wins. WWE attempted many wacky things during their extended residency in empty arenas, but none were as genuinely mad as what they did here. As an actual match, it's not exactly giving Flair vs Steamboat any sleepless nights, but it was a visually stunning spectacle and features one of the most unforgettable WWE pay-per-view endings ever. Orton won the match by backing the Fiend into the flames, only for Wyatt to continue his pursuit before eating an RKO. The Viper then contemplated his next move before pouring gasoline on his stricken foe and lighting a match. Just completely mental on every level, enjoyable whether you were genuinely aghast or bursting at the seams from suppressed laughter. Number 5, besting Bryan at the Rumble. The first time that Bray Wyatt really got to shine was during his feud with Daniel Bryan in late 2013/early 2014. Bray had seemingly recruited the American Dragon.
And here's the thing, I actually love that rivalry like so much, due to the fact that it has one of my one of many of my favorite promos for Bray Wyatt. It's like with Bryan, when with Bryan Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him, when he was telling that we all are monsters, and I love that promo so much.
To the Wyatt family fold, only for the bearded wonder to famously rip off his boiler suit and break free from their clutches. Well, the Eater of Worlds wasn't going to let that one sit, and the big grudge match was booked for the 2014 Royal Rumble. Opening the show in style, the two men had an exceptional back and forth contest that would remain one of Wyatt's best. Bryan was riding a serious wave of fan support at the time, and the Bray Wyatt character was still very new, giving the match a lot of crowd heat and a fresh feel. As for the result, it really could have gone either way, and that would have been just fine, but Bray got the nod and put the bearded wonder away after a Sister Abigail into the ringside barricade, followed by another in the ring.
And here's the thing, by him doing that back in 2014, it catastrophic sent Bryan Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan, in WWE to be on a collision for the world titles. And it's one of those things that it changed him winning both the WWE championship and the World Heavyweight Championship changed his career a lot more, in the most severe way, and that's all thanks to Bray. Bray Wyatt, winning the title almost 3.5 years later.
Stealing the show in the opener and getting a major singles W. Not a bad night for the man of 1,000 truths, all things considered. Number 4, The Fiend's debut. While his tag team with Broken Matt Hardy, the Deleters of Worlds, was a fine mid-card distraction, it was clear that Bray could do with a direction change sooner rather than later. Once the team had run its course, Wyatt took a little vacation while new vignettes began offering a peek into Bray's Firefly Funhouse. Initially appearing as a Mr. Rogers type host, the vignettes took a very dark turn as the Fiend was introduced to the world. After playing for weeks and weeks, fans became invested in seeing how it would all shake out in the ring as Wyatt targeted Finn Balor and was booked against the first ever Universal Champion at SummerSlam 2019. The Fiend's proper in-ring debut would have to be handled perfectly after such a long and careful build, and thankfully WWE, as well as Bray and Balor, got it spot on. The entrance was hair-raising and the Fiend's appearance was genuinely disconcerting, like a horror movie villain come to life. He made quick work of his very generous opponent too, setting the right tone.
Because they build the Fiend kind of like indestructible, And the point that it legit terrified a lot of audience, even some of the kids, even having complaints from people's parents saying, "This is too scary for my kids. Can you tone it down?" Stuff like that. I'm like, it's the character, It's what it's supposed to do. If it's not, it's still entertaining. If it's not scaring you, it's not doing. This version of Bray was not doing his job if it wasn't scaring you.
From the off. Number 3, supremacy over the Shield. The Wyatt family were lucky enough to arrive in WWE at the same time that another awesome faction, the Shield, were establishing their dominance. Hitting that sweet spot right as the Wyatts were starting to really get over, and not too terribly long before the Hounds of Justice imploded, WWE booked the big showdown between the two warring stables at 2014's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Watching it all unfold, you could immediately see that this was something truly special. The crowd were electric from before the opening bell rang and maintained their enthusiasm for the duration of the near 25-minute barn burner. In any event, the six-man was a real chaotic scrap that featured a little bit of everything for everyone and allowed all the participants to shine, especially Bray though, who scored the decisive pin on Roman Reigns. Amazingly, WWE booked the match to
even their rivalry, Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt, most of the time Bray Wyatt lost. It did more for Bray than it ever did for Roman, and that's saying something, And because Roman was being pushed to be the guy. But when it comes to creative, sometimes it helped the person who didn't really expect to help. And that was with Bray.
pretty much the same way in the main event of Raw a few months later, with Bray again pinning the big dog to establish his trio's supremacy.
Yeah,
Number
he did
2,
win.
Bray's Elimination Chamber WWE title win. The Elimination Chamber event had to hold a special place in Bray Wyatt's heart. 3 years after he, Harper, and Rowan beat Rollins, Reigns, and Ambrose in an instant classic, the Eater of Worlds received a shot at the WWE title in the show's eponymous match. John Cena was defending against Wyatt, AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, The Miz, and Baron Corbin inside the unforgiving steel structure, with Bray entering the fray as the 4th entrant. This was his first crack at the WWE title, believe it or not, his only previous shots at any sort of world title coming in the 2014 Money in the Bank ladder match and in the 2016 Royal Rumble. This Elimination Chamber match was a scorcher and really saved what had been a humdrum pay-per-view, with the 6 men going all out for close to 40 awesome minutes. After the champ was surprisingly eliminated, it came down to Wyatt and Styles, with the phenomenal one eventually succumbing to Sister Abigail and Bray securing his first major piece of singles gold. His reign didn't last long, ending at the hands of Randy Orton at WrestleMania 33 just 6 weeks later, but the moment he won the title was still one of his best. Number 1, the Wyatt family death.
To me personally, that his title reign should last a lot longer, but I understand, when it comes to your ATV, especially, it's hit or miss.
Debuts. The first time we saw Wyndham Rotunda on WWE television, he was a million miles removed from the iconic character he would morph into. It took a couple of years in NXT for him to transform from Husky Harris, game show hopeful and member of the new Nexus. While in developmental, Rotunda crafted the Bray Wyatt persona, with he and his family quickly becoming a leading act for the black and gold brand. Like many others before and after them, their fortunes could have easily changed with their call-up, but mercifully, WWE got it right from the get-go. After the vignette treatment helped tease their impending arrival, the Wyatt family surfaced on the July 8th, 2013 episode of Raw.
And that's when, by him, because I didn't know nothing much about Bray Wyatt in NXT, but when he debuted in July of 2013, which legit, it has been 10 years since this man debuted in WWE, like on the main roster, I've been an instant fan. Because this guy legit gravitas and the audience. It's one of those things that he knows how to draw, like I said in the beginning, know how to draw the audience in with his promos, his mic skills, just being Bray, being Wyndham Rotunda, just being himself.
Cut one of his customarily creepy promos from a rocking chair, which was played on the big screen before he, Harper, and Rowan came out and attacked Kane. Bray himself didn't do anything physical to the Big Red Machine, letting his larger enforcers do the damage while he observed approvingly. Nonetheless, it was a powerful first main roster appearance for a character who, in the decade that followed, experienced a lot of creative ups and downs, yet always retained his special aura. There will never be another. Rest in peace, Wyndham.
Yeah, it's it will never be another, like he said. And I mean, he was actually scheduled to come back this October, which would have been perfect, Halloween season and everything, yada yada. But it just reminds me that we all are in time limit with our life, so we must live our life to the fullest. And because we don't know when our time comes, so we must live our life to the fullest. So rest in peace, William Rotunda. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. So I will leave the original link to this video down below. Also link to my Twitter, my Instagram, Like I said, I'm gonna do a tribute video at the end of this one, so stay tuned for that. So please do me a favor, take care of yourselves, and please just take care of yourselves.
Don't feel what you can't change. Trapped inside my head, I'm falling, but I feel calm. Found my way in a city that lost it. DNA, be feeling like Gotham. Ooh, yeah. I guess I'm healing from